Hey there, friends. Welcome back to another Legally Armed America video. I'm, of course, Paul Glasgow here, the one and only truth pimp, bringing you a vulgar display of logic and reason on a daily basis. Got a surprise for you guys today. You guys might remember a couple of weeks ago I mentioned a sheriff in Washington State. That's right, a pro-gun sheriff in Washington State who was not going to enforce a current bill that had just been passed that was going to infringe upon the rights of gun owners in the state of Washington. I told you guys I was going to work on getting an interview, and I did. I have that for you today. Sheriff Swank from Pierce County up in Washington, just south of the Seattle area, yeah, that part of Washington, is on record saying he's not going to support this law. And I want you to watch this video because I can tell you it is extremely refreshing to me to talk to a gentleman like this in law enforcement who understands and can actually vocalize his true support for the Second Amendment and what it stands for and what it means, even being behind enemy lines like he is. Hope you guys enjoyed the interview. Hey there, Sheriff. Welcome to the show. It is so good to have somebody like you on the show, and I'm curious. Let's jump right into this. I want to get your thoughts on this bill, this crazy bill. And as I told you before we came on air, it's unusual for me to talk to somebody in a state that's predominantly anti-gun, but you have such strong convictions for the Second Amendment. I want to jump right into House Bill 1163. If you don't mind, I'd like to turn it over to you and you explain to me the high points of what we're looking at, and then let's have the discussion.
Well, this is legislation that was passed that says that citizens, U.S. citizens who live in Washington State and Washington State citizens are required to get a license in order to purchase a firearm. In order to exercise your Second Amendment right, you have to get a license. Yes, I said that, a license. And they don't even have the process figured out yet. The Washington State Patrol will come up with the class. So you go to a class, you have to pay a fee. I think that right there is racist because we all know that minorities need to have weapons to protect themselves, and many of them are poor. And so you're going to charge them a fee to get a license to exercise the Second Amendment rights, and then they won't be able to do that. And then you'll have a class, and who knows how the class will be done. It might be made so hard that it's hard to pass it. I don't know what it's going to be. They're going to pass that and then say you have to have this license in order to purchase a firearm. They'll add ammunition to it. I'm not sure if they already added that to it or not. They'll add it all to it. And this is completely gun control.
And to be clear, because again, this is not a topic that we're used to discussing, something that's this infringing. This is not to carry a gun. Like we usually have this type of discussion on what we need to do to carry. You're talking about just to purchase the firearm, you have to do these things.
Yes. You know, I'm going to tell you something about this, Paul, just so that you know, and that your listeners know this. I've been a cop since 1990 in Washington State, and I worked for Seattle for 33 years. I retired from there. I'm the sheriff of Pierce County, the second largest county in Washington State. It's the largest county of elected sheriff. We're 1 million people. It's a big county, right? So anyhow,
wow.
I've been involved in politics for a long time, but I've been a cop for longer. Washington State's Constitution is a very Second Amendment friendly Constitution. This Constitution says you're allowed to open carry in this state. You're allowed to conceal carry in this state. We have great rights according to the Constitution, but the legislature has turned far to the left over the past 30 years, and they just started implementing legislation that is unconstitutional to the federal Constitution and to the state Constitution, but they don't care because they have a supermajority. And by the time we get this in front of the U.S. Supreme Court, years will be gone by, people's rights will be infringed, and all the gun stores will be out of business. Therefore, no one can buy a gun in this state.
Well, and I want to also make something really clear. The reason why you and I are talking is because you're on record stating that I'm not going to enforce this. This is unconstitutional. And this is not something I'm going to enforce. Can you expand on that a little bit?
Well, they're going to have this. You have to have a license to go to the gun store to purchase your gun. And I'm not enforcing that. People say, well, the licensing department enforces that. Yeah, but when they go in there to do that, they might want to have cops stand by to make sure everything's safe. I'm not doing it. The Pierce County Sheriff's Office is not going to help facilitate unlawful, unconstitutional laws. Second Amendment, First Amendment, Sixth Amendment, whatever it is, we're not going to do it. We're going to abide by the Constitution of the United States and the state of Washington. And so some people said, well, you don't have a say in this at all. I do.
Yeah.
I am the chief law enforcement officer of Pierce County, Washington. And I'm telling you, in our county is a sanctuary county for Second Amendment. And so you can go there, you can sell guns and all of that. We're not going to enforce it. Look, we're not going to enforce it. I think we have to go to a FFL in order to transfer guns between people. If you loan me your gun here, that'd be against the law. I'm not allowed to borrow your gun to go hunting with it or anything like that. That's unconstitutional. I'm not enforcing any of that stuff. We have a magazine ban. I'm not enforcing it. It's unconstitutional. And I explain to these people all the time about what the Second Amendment really means, what our founders meant. And it was for us to be able to raise up against a tyrannical government, to keep the boot off our neck. That's what it was all about. People said, oh, well, we never did that. Yes, we did. We fought England for our freedom. We took up arms against the government, right? Not that I want people to do that. I'm not encouraging that, but that's what it's all about. It's about to keep Keith Swank, your sheriff, from coming into your house without a warrant anytime he feels like it. That's what it's about.
Right. And curiously, this, I guess the makeup of this law, if the people of Pierce County, which is your county, have confidence in you, and I believe they do because they voted you into office, and they decide, okay, I'm not going to go through this requirement via the state to get my permit, my permission, and all this kind of stuff and pay for my training. Because again, I'll get back to, I pulled up statistics on crime and poverty in your county. So I want to go over that. It's funny you touched on that immediately because that was one of my biggest points to bring up, that this is usually an infringement on poor people and it makes them poorer or more, or puts them in more, I guess, danger. But this seems like the type of, if I'm in your county, I'm thinking, all right, sheriff's got my back. This seems more like an FFL, firearms retail business type thing. It moves to that. So since this is not a federal law, obviously, the ATF has no jurisdiction here. So the federal government has zero jurisdiction because this law actually infringes upon the Second Amendment. So if there's no policing authority, do you see, since it's in a county, do you see the municipal police chiefs potentially enforcing this, whereas people outside of city limits, just the FFLs, won't have to require this? How is that going to go down? Because clearly somebody's going to challenge this in the public.
Yeah, I don't know how it's going to go down, and I don't know if they'll call in municipal chiefs to try to enforce it. This is how I think it will go, though. I think that the Attorney General's office of Washington State or some other group, or Washington State Patrol, somebody of that group, will go into a gun store and try to purchase a gun without that license. And then when the dealer sells them the gun, then they'll do something where they start to fine them, and then they'll try to bring them to court and bankrupt them then, right? That's how I see that them doing that. And I hope that the gun owners, the FFLs, the store owners, if they decide not to do this, which they should decide not to do it, that whenever they come in and do that and they fine them, whatever, I just wouldn't pay it. And when they say your business is closed, I say, no, it's not. I mean, we need to have civil disobedience and say, no, I'm not doing this. I mean, I don't even have time, Paul, to tell you, maybe I'll tell you some other time about the stuff that I'm going through to try to make our county do the right thing for the citizens of the county, because they're after me, the sheriff, because I'm standing up for these rights, not just this right, but other rights too, constitutional rights for everybody, regardless of your political persuasion. What's wrong with that? But there's a problem with that somehow.
Yeah, I've actually read a little bit that you're not in the best standing with your county prosecutor there. It sounds like you guys are not the best of friends. We're not going to be seeing an exchange of Christmas cards between you guys.
No, No.
Let me get on to the point. First of all, I want to point out where you're at in the county. You're just south of Seattle. Your largest town is Tacoma. Is that correct?
Right. That's the largest town in Pierce County. Yes. And
okay.
The Pierce County Sheriff's Office, though, we police all the unincorporated areas of Pierce County, and we police over 500,000 people out of the 980,000. So we police the most people, have the biggest jurisdiction, including Tacoma. We have the jail, all of that.
Okay. So, and I'm curious, just down here in Louisiana, there's obviously the sheriff's department will usually police the entire parish, and then the communities are just in their city. So there's an overlap there. I assume you guys do the same thing.
Yeah, same sort of thing. We don't typically like go into Tacoma to make arrests, but since we're the sheriff, we can go anywhere in the county. Matter of fact, we have police powers to go anywhere in the state, but we just try to let the other municipalities, other jurisdictions handle their stuff. If they can't, we go and give them a hand.
Well, looking at statistics, and again, I pulled these up right before the call. Looking at Tacoma, it looks like South Tacoma probably is your poorest part of Pierce County, according to the internet, the almighty internet. And oddly enough, the hotspot identified with the highest crime in Pierce County is also that same area. So, as you mentioned at the beginning of the interview, you know, I've often said this whenever you have what's happening in your area where Democrats have come out and emphatically, let me get this right. The Democrats have said that this law will reduce gun violence and suicide. Well, first of all, that's a stupid statement because you can't measure that. It's impossible to measure a negative. Yes. So for them to make that claim, you could easily say and claim the exact same thing as far as community safety, because you can say, I'm going to keep it affordable for a person in South Tacoma to still be able to afford to buy a firearm and ammunition to defend themselves and their families. Whereas these Democrats are trying to put this additional fee, and not only the fee, but the burden. I mean, let's face it, if somebody's working 2 jobs, do they have time to go to the training course and do all these other things? So I feel like it makes a person poorer and less safe when you put these kind of burdens on them. What's your thoughts on that?
No, I agree with you. You know, I go to community meetings all the time, and I talk to people and they say, well, what should we do? You know, what should we do to protect ourselves? And I know they're used to hearing city people say, well, just call 911. But let me just tell you this. My county is 1,806 square miles. From one end of the county, the east side, to the west side, it's an hour and 10-minute code run, lights and siren driving 100 miles an hour.
Wow. So
when you call 911, if I don't have somebody over where you need me to be, I might be 45 minutes away, right? This isn't, I worked in Seattle. When you call 911, we were there, but we're not there. We go clear to the top of Mount Rainier, the largest mountain in the continental United States, right? We go, that's part of my jurisdiction, out in the foothills of the mountains. So I tell people all the time to get yourself a gun, a handgun, learn how to use it and be able to protect yourself, and then learn about the rules of engagement, right? I mean, I don't want you going out there to shoot people up, but hey, look, if someone's going to come to your house and harm you, I probably won't get there till after it's done. So you might have to defend yourself. I really wish I was there, but I don't have enough people to be there for that. And so we'll do a good investigation afterwards, but you'll be dead.
Yeah, that's right.
Yourself.
Yeah. It's basically paperwork is what you're doing at that point.
Right. And I don't want to be that way. I want to do paperwork on the suspect.
Right. And let's be honest, the people who you're encouraging to go get a gun, you're not having to encourage the criminals to go get guns. They've already stolen them. You're encouraging the good people to go get guns to protect themselves. There's not a criminal out there that's going, yeah, sheriff's right, I need to go get a gun. They already have what they want.
Right. So, or they're saying, sheriff's right, I need to get a gun so I can use it on your cops, right? Or something like that. Right.
Correct. Yeah. Well, I'm gonna tell you, I have a lot of respect for you because I know the type of situation that you're in. I've read a lot about you since I reached out to your office a couple of weeks ago. Seems like you have a lot that you're going through over there as far as not having the support that you need from the elected officials and from the appointed officials. Sounds like the community, however, has your back. And a lot of people I have talked to spoke very highly of you. And I hope you know that. I hope you know you have a lot of support in the community.
Yeah, I appreciate that. You know, you don't know everything about me, and nor do your listeners, but I'll just tell you this. That really makes me proud. I'm the first person to be elected sheriff of Pierce County that was not a sheriff deputy beforehand. I'm the first outsider ever to be elected into that position. It's a big deal because people usually the sheriff just picks the next person. They run. They did that, and I defeated her. Right.
Oh, wow.
So this person, I won the election, and the people are behind me, and I get stuff from people every day saying, Thank you for standing up for us, and thank you for standing up for our rights. And, I tell people all the time, because I have, like I said, community meetings. Some people don't like me. They don't like my positions. They think I'm a right winger or this or that. But I tell them all, hey, listen, that's okay that you disagree with me, but I'm always going to support and defend your constitutional rights to say that and to have a gun and do all that stuff like that, right? And then when I do that, that actually just de-escalates them, because the other side is used to, if you disagree with them, to go after you. I'm not going after these people. I want them to exercise their rights, and I want to make sure that I'm making Pierce County as safe as we can for our citizens.
Well, I know you haven't been a quote politician for very long, an elected politician, and I hope that doesn't change you, because it sounds like you have a really good approach, at least as far as the fairness and the rights of the people of Pierce County. And I know they're proud to have you over there. Let me ask you a quick question real quick. Have you heard of the Goals Conference in Knoxville, Tennessee that Gun Owners of America puts on? If not, no big deal.
No, I might have heard about it, but I don't know much about it. No.
They had it the inaugural one last August, and the next one is coming this August, and I think they're going to be in Knoxville for 2 more years. Okay. I would like to reach out to them if you're at all interested and see if we can't connect you guys. I'd love to see you over there. I think it's a place that you should go. I think you're going to see a lot of like-minded people, and there's a lot of people. Cash Patel was there last year. I think there's a lot of people there that would like to hear what you have to say. There are people that travel all over the country, because GOA's members are all over the country. Right, and right. I think it would be an interesting concept if you were to make it there. I'm gonna stay on after we get off of here, and I'm gonna get some information from you, and I'll make that connection for you. And I'd love to see you there. I think it'd be a good place for you.
Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah.
Well, I wish you all the luck over there. Again, I know you have some opposition over there, but I think you have more support. The people may not have these fancy titles who are supporting you necessarily like some of these politicians do, but at the same time, I think what you're doing, it's gaining some steam. I just simply put out, I think I forwarded, when you came out and said that you were not going to support this or enforce it, I simply forwarded the story on X on my account. And I just said, hey, I'm going to try to reach out to this guy. I'd love to talk to him. This is awesome. And the overwhelming support, including people from your area reaching out to me, I was like, wow, people are really listening. I mean, I'm seeing a paradigm shift right now, and I never expected it from Washington State, to be honest with you.
Well, I'll tell you, I want to bring attention to this stuff. There's other things going on. Maybe we talk some more about some other time, overreach of government. I want to bring it on. And I just want people out there to know that your Pierce County Sheriff's Office, we don't overreach. We follow the Constitution. We're out there working to make our community safe. And if we make mistakes, and we do, we own up to it and we hold people accountable. So we're out there to do that. And I want everybody to know that no matter your political persuasion, whether you voted for me or not, we're there for you.
Well, good. Well, I appreciate that. And look, let's stay in touch with one another, because I would like to talk about some of those other topics. It doesn't have to just be Second Amendment related. I feel like if you're fighting an uphill battle, if there's anything we can do to lend a hand to you, we'd love to do that.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Sheriff. I appreciate you.
I'm sorry, I thought this was America. He's over!